Hey y'all, what's up? Today we're gonna do a speed face painting of this Lion King look right here, and I am super excited. It was inspired by, obviously, the Lion King, as well as Peach Kate and Kim of Makeup on Instagram. Be sure to check them out because I absolutely adore their work. And we're gonna start out with some sketching. Now, honestly, I really didn't know what I wanted to do for the Lion King look. I've been wanting to do a Lion King look since they announced the first announced the entire idea of a live action Lion King, because I was like, whoa, what is this gonna be? And honestly, I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, so please no spoilers in the comments. But if you did get to see it, let me know if it was good or not, because I'm really worried about that. Everybody keeps saying that they feel like they're gonna mess it up or ruin the movie, so please let me know if you think it was good or not. I definitely want to go see it. I just haven't gotten a chance to yet. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do for the look because I wanted to pull some different aspects of the movie together, but I wasn't sure how. And I saw Peach Kate's look and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do a cloudy Mufasa because that's one of my favorite scenes from the movie. And I knew I wanted to do Simba, but I didn't know how I wanted to do him. And I almost felt like I needed to do an adult Simba sitting there talking to Mufasa, but at the same time, I was kind of like, I really like childhood Simba, like, young Simba, his cockiness, his attitude, which is why the first time I actually did this look that I ended up scrapping because I didn't love it. I did the sitting down, like, a little bit of an attitude, kind of, reminiscent of the entire scene where he's basically tricking Zazu into leaving him alone. I kind of did that at first with a little bit of cockiness, and I just felt like it didn't fit the look as well, which is why I redid it and did the more happy standing up Simba. And that's definitely a lot of where Kim's inspiration came in, because I saw her look and I was like, you know what? I think that Simba fits better with what I'm doing than the Simba that I did. So that's where the inspiration from her came in, and I think that it turned out a lot better this time. So right here, I'm just doing a sketch using CC Beauty face paints, and honestly, I get them off of Amazon. They're not too expensive. I do think that they're a private label brand, which I have absolutely no issues with private label brands, but it does mean that there's a possibility that you can find the product cheaper, so definitely search around a little bit, because I've seen other brands with pretty much the same packaging, the same colors. The colors might be in a few different places, but there's not much of a difference between the product from the visuals. So definitely shop around if you're interested in investing in some face paints. I really like these, other than the fact that they're oil-based. So for me, the only issue with them being oil-based is that they really don't dry down, so I end up going over them with shadows to set everything into place and add in the depth, because it's really hard to build this paint up too much. If you go to building it up too much, it just starts coming off of the face and blending in too much. You really can't get adding in details or anything like that without moving the paint underneath it, which is why I feel the need to set it down with face paint or shadows every time I use these face paints. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I just went on a random rant about face paints, so cool. Anyways, right here, I'm just doing the sketch for Mufasa. I did go through and sketch everything out with these face paints and then use the face paints for a base for all of the colors. That way, the colors had the chance to be very vibrant and beautiful. I do find that doing that usually helps the look kind of look a little bit more vibrant, like I said, and honestly, it helps the shadows kind of blend a little bit easier. So it's kind of like having a shadow base on your eyes, but it's a little bit thicker of a base, and I really like using that method. Right now, I'm just using one of those face paints and going through and finishing the sketch. I guess that's what you would call it. I'm just kind of finalizing it and getting those lines in, because as you can tell, there's lines that I don't necessarily need. Anytime I do a sketch of a face, I always do like the shape of the face with the lines through it and with a little bit of curvature to get the face curvature correct, and the eyes and the nose and the mouth in the right place. So those are lines that I really don't need when I'm going through and adding the color in. So I like to go through with a darker color and kind of finalize the sketch so that that it's easier to know what lines to follow, and that's what I'm doing here. I know that I'm talking a lot about what I'm doing, but I just kind of like to do these face paintings and add in the voiceover and give you some little bit of information for anybody that's interested in getting started with this kind of stuff. I know that for me, I struggled finding information, and I luckily tweeted a lot of different artists like, hey, how do you do this, or how do you use this, or what do you use for this? And a lot of artists were really nice and responded and definitely helped me get started. But I know that it can be a little bit difficult finding that information, which is why I like to tell you what I'm doing. And also, as I'm learning and growing and getting better, I can give some better tips throughout the different videos. I do feel like this look was one of the more intense ones for me. When I say speed face painting, please understand that while this video is probably only like 16 minutes long, it took me 5.5 hours to do this. And so I'm really just going through and speeding everything up in editing and then doing the voiceover so that I can give you the information without you having to watch each individual part. So right here, I'm just setting some of that in with the shadows. I use the black to get the base for the sketch and add in some of that depth so that I would know where color goes and doesn't go. And now I'm just adding in some of that color using some CC Beauty face paints. I'm going in with yellow and pink in order to create an orange because this set didn't come with orange. So I created a little bit of orange, and then I'm going in with the blue to do the blue side of his face. And I'm just taking a deep blue and starting with that, and then going through with a white to add in and get that little bit of a lighter blue look and a little bit more of the cloud look, in my opinion. Kind of adds a little bit of a painted look to him, because I feel like that's kind of like the vibe of it, is kind of like a painted look. So I'm going through and using Take Me Back to Brazil palette, as always, to set some of these shadows in place. I do really love using this palette as well as the Zulu palette from Juvias Place for this kind of stuff, because they both have very bright, vibrant colors. I cannot talk today. What is going on with me? Anyways, they both have very vibrant colors, so it really helps to get everything set into place using those. And I'm just kind of going to use that method back and forth throughout the whole look, using the face paintings to get a base for the color, and then going through with different shadows to set everything into place. So that's what I'm doing with the hair right now, is using face paints and then going in with shadows and creating depth with the eyeshadows too. That's something else. I really use the eyeshadows to definitely create some depth and some shadowing and shading inside of the look. And so I really enjoy using that method because I get more control. That's basically how I feel about it, is that I get a little more control using a method like that. So here I'm creating the sky, and I'm actually going to do something I had never done before until doing this look. And I actually took out, as soon as I started this look, a makeup remover and let it sit on my desk so that it could dry. And it's all dried up, and I'm just taking it and patting it on to remove the excess product, because that paint can be really hard to sit down or to get to set down if you have too much product right there. So I used some eyeshadows to set it down, and then I took some black to add in a little more of a cloud and smoky kind of night vibe right through there. And I'm using some of those shadows to add some depth to the hair as well. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side with some blue, kind of just getting that vibe going with the face, because with the Mufasa and the cloudy look, like one side was kind of like the pinks and the yellows, and one side was the blue because it was nighttime with his face. But I wanted to bring that pink and orange and yellow into the sky for the other side. That way it can tie into the background for everything going on with Simba. So we have the background, which includes the Pride Rock as well as Simba, and having the background between them. I keep saying having the background. Basically, all I'm trying to say is I tied in those colors in order to do the sky on the side. That way I could incorporate it into the background and everything would kind of flow together a little bit better. So I definitely knew I wanted to do a Mufasa because he's one of the most memorable parts of the movie for me, especially the cloudy Mufasa. And honestly, this movie came out in 1994. I wasn't even born yet, and I absolutely was obsessed with it as a kid. But the things to me that stood out as being the most memorable when I was a kid was Mufasa in the clouds and that whole situation, because it was so cool to me. Like, ooh, seeing the dead father in the clouds and talking to him, cool. But also the hyenas. So my dad and I would actually run around the house and go, Mufasa, and then the other person would go, ooh, because the whole hyenas saying that, you know, his name has power and it sends shivers down their spine, and, you know, say it again, ooh. So we would do that all the time, and when I did this look, we actually did it again, except my husband joined in too, so he would just randomly go, Mufasa, and then one of us would go, ooh, which was so childlike, but I loved it. So yeah, I love the movie so much, and I think it was a really great movie, and I'm really happy to see the live action. I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to see like what's different, what's the same. I don't know, that to me is going to be the most interesting part. So right here, I'm actually using an e.l.f. eyeliner. I normally use NYX eyeliners for all of the detailing, so I like use a white NYX liner with this look quite a bit, but I actually used a black e.l.f. liner because it was a little bit cheaper, and I was like, you know what, I want to test this out because I'm going through these liners quite quick. I want to test this out, see how it does, and it was just as good in my opinion. It was about $4, which I think the other ones are about $7. So I was like, you know, let's see how it does. And I think it did really, really good. Right here, I'm just taking those CC Beauty paints again and adding some detail into Simba. And now I'm taking that white liner for the inside of his eyes. His eyes are definitely where I struggled the most. I feel like it was a small area to work with, doing a lot of detail in. And I did get some nicer brushes. That one that you're seeing right there is one of my nicer brushes that I got recently from Michaels. For anybody that's interested or looking, if you are interested in doing these kinds of looks and you're trying to find how to get these like really small brushes and do these really small details, definitely suggest going to an arts and crafts store and maybe picking up one or two of their little brushes that you'll see in their pro section where they have their paints. They'll have individual brushes set up where you can look at and see. They're a little on the expensive side. It's like $4 per brush, but to me, they're a lot better than the ones that I'm capable of finding in sets in my area, because the ones that I find in sets are usually just not as fine detail, and they also fray really, really quick. So using these, I did notice quite a bit of a difference with what I was capable of doing when it came to details, so that was really cool, and I hope that over time I can see that detail ability grow even more. I would love to be able to be like Kim and get that amount of detail that she did on Simba, because her Simba is amazing. You should definitely check it out. Or Kate, where she did the Mufasa but on her eyes. Like, I would love to one day be that good and be able to get that amount of detail, but it definitely takes practice and growth, and that's something that I love about this look, is that even though I didn't do the amount of detail that they did or was able to fit that amount of detail into such a small area, I was still able to see a lot of growth in my own ability. So that's a really cool feeling, and I think that if you are somebody wanting to get into like this side of makeup or art at all, like any kind of art, just pay attention to your growth, and it'll be such a good feeling to see when you're capable of doing more than you were, or you can do better than what you were. Like, seeing the growth that you're capable of doing is so inspiring for me, and I just think that it really helps keep me in a positive frame of mind, because doing this kind of stuff is definitely some level of competitive. I don't give a frick what anyone says. There is going to be some level of yourself that looks at what people do and you're like, oh my god, I can't do that, I'm crap. Like, in your own head, there's going to be some level of that for most people. Don't get me wrong, I think it's definitely normal, but I think that it's definitely also toxic. And so for me, the biggest thing that gets me out of that mind frame and gets me into a healthier place for myself is to just look at my own growth and see what I'm capable of doing. And it helps me also appreciate other people's art so much more, because I'm not sitting there like, crap, I am never going to be anything because I can't do that. So as much as that makes me almost sound like a bad person for saying that art is competitive, I don't mean it as like, oh, you know, all artists can't succeed. I definitely just mean that mentally there is a level of comparison that you might have, and I just think that to a degree it's somewhat natural, but that there's ways around it. So anyways, with this look, I really didn't know how I wanted to do the ending part of the background, because I knew I didn't want to take the background fully across my face. So I decided to do kind of like a watercolor ripped canvas kind of vibe with it, and I carried that onto the eyes as well. And to do the sky, I used an eyeshadow that I used with setting spray to get that different tones in the sky. Those are things to pay attention to, is like things that work and how you may be able to multi-purpose things. For me, that's huge, is being able to use something in multiple ways or to get multiple effects, because it definitely helps me save some money, which is super important to me. Overall, I think this look turned out really nice. I'm really happy with it. Is it the best ever? No. Am I really proud of it? Yes. If you want to see more from me, you can hit that face in the middle to subscribe, or you can check out one of my videos to the left or to the right. I will leave mystery videos up for you to check out. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. It always means a lot when you check out my videos, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!